I think I tried to write the piece with a bit of sincerity and authenticity, and I was able to be honest in the writing because I've reached a certain age in my life and my parents have both moved on and passed on, and so I was able to talk about things from my childhood which I probably would not have been able to talk about had my parents been alive.
Where did you start?
I went to St Francis Xavier's grammar school. There was an overemphasis, I suspect, on grammar and language, you know. And I was a boy, I was the fifth of 9 children born up the road in total poverty. And yet, at 11 years of age, I'm doing English, French, Latin and Greek, you know, which is very unusual for a boy from this area, you know. There's a scene there where a priest walks into a classroom and recites a poem called The Wind Hover by Gerard Manley Hopkins. And the boy responds to it because of the language. And that was me, that was from my childhood. So I always had a fascination with language, words, grammar, and it stayed with me. I think I was always a writer, and I had to stammer. So I found a great freedom, whereas a lot of people are intimidated by a blank page. For me, it was freedom, because I couldn't speak, I could only write.
Is that what started you writing this series? What made you want to write it?
If truth be told, it's a story I'd been trying to write for 30 or 40 years. You know, this notion of a priest at the core of other people's stories. So I had to write it one day, and I'm so glad I didn't write it earlier. I'm so glad I wrote it when I did write it, because I could be more honest at the time I wrote it. I repeat, because my parents, there were certain things I would not have said if my parents had been alive. You know, it's been with me all my writing life, and I think I told it at just the right time. You know, there's been so many horrendous stories of abuse that to have a story about a good priest, you know, came at the right time, I think.
Have you been here since the shoot?
Yes, I did a few interviews from here. So it's either this church or a pub called the Liver Vaults, and they're my 2 favourite places to be interviewed in.
What's next? Is there something else you want to tell?
I've just done the first draft of a... Funny, you know, I'm not a practicing Catholic, and I wish I had faith, but I have no faith. But I was asked by G. Walker to tell the story of her son, Anthony Walker, who was murdered in Huyton. Anthony was black, 18 years of age, and he was killed by 2 racist thugs in Huyton. I've known G for quite a while, and G's a practicing Christian, you know. And I remember saying to G, when G asked me to do it, I said, I feel I have a duty to God to tell your story. So that's why I've told that story, even though I don't know what God is. I have a duty. I had a duty to something other than me to tell G's story, and so that's what I've just done now. And as we speak, I'm awaiting the BBC's response.
How does it feel looking back?
I should have done more, is the answer. I've quoted this before, is Auden, you know, the poet W.H. Auden. He's got some lines that are really interesting for a writer. He goes, God, and again it's God, but I repeat, I'm not a believer. But Auden says, God will reduce you on Judgment Day to tears of shame, reciting by heart the poems you would have written had your life been good. And that applies to all writers. We should have all written more poems. We should have written better poems. But we've gone out and got drunk, or we've got lazy, or we've gone on holiday. You know. So looking back, I rue the ones I didn't write. You know, that's probably the answer to that. Yeah.